Hello everyone, this is Papalicia, and today I bring to you the Golden Pig King Guide, finally! Make sure to drop a like and a follow, as well as leave a comment down below for anything I may have missed. The Golden Pig King is split into 3 different calamities unlike the previous 7. There's Calamity 8, 9, and 10, 8 and 9 being the same and 10 being a little bit different with how it ends. The purpose of this video is to explore the intricacies of Calamity 10 and help you feel more comfortable before you start your journey. To help you do this, we're going to split this whole video into 3 parts. Boss faces, HP markers, and general stage mechanics, which is split further into fire circles, HP orbs, and boss circles. This should help you just kind of explore the general gist of everything in Calamity 10. With that being said, it's going to kind of be a lot of information, so buckle up and let's get right into it. Let's start with the boss phases. The Golden Pig King is going to be in 3 different sword aura forms at all times. He's going to either be his gold aura form, his fire aura form, or no aura form. There's also some free DPS phases that we're going to go over. Here's an example of the gold aura form. Here's an example of the fire aura form. And finally, here's an example of no sword aura at all, like nothing. In each of the aura forms, different things happen. Gold is more transitional with some mid to high damage. Fire aura is where he spends most of his time, so you're going to see a lot of high damage and in the majority of the animations. And in no sword aura form, he kind of does very low damage, so you can tank some of the stuff with frontal guard. However, he does restrict your guard gauge recovery, so keep this in mind while using your frontal guard. Moving on, in this section, we're going to go over different aura phase changes that happen with different boss animations as the fight progresses. Here are 4 different examples of the boss transitioning into fire aura. Something to note, every single time the boss transitions into fire aura, his sword is coated in flames. Same with gold and same with no aura. Make sure to always keep a watchful eye on the boss's sword to know what aura the boss is in at all times. Now here are some more examples of the boss transitioning into no sword aura form. I threw this section in because it technically counts, but generally for this section, I just fast forward through the beginning and end phases. I'll explain this in more detail later for what this is. Now this is something a lot of people are looking forward to, which is the free DPS phases. The boss has more than 3, but we're going to focus on the 3 main ones that you can utilize as the boss fight goes on. With the blue flame DPS phase, you want to make sure the boss is standing on top of a blue flame. The boss eventually uses a couple of different fire skills, which then activates the blue flame and makes it explode. This stuns the boss for a specific amount of time within which you can DPS without a care in the world. For the triple jump mechanic, you want to make sure that you CC the boss at the 3rd jump right before his foot lands. The way you do this is by using a PvE knockdown/bound skill to CC the boss, and then you have a free DPS window. Make sure whatever skill you use has either super armor or frontal guard. This is probably the best and easiest DPS phase. All the boss is going to do at around 30% HP, he's going to shout, and then he's going to lift his sword above his head. Once you see this animation, all you have to do is just DPS until the boss slams the sword down. Something to note, this animation happens once before at around 70%, so keep an eye out for that. At this point, we've gone through a lot of different information concerning the boss phases and different DPS mechanics. Now, let's transition into the HP markers and at what HP the boss is going to do different things. In Calamity 10, the boss has 3 different distinct HP markers where things happen: 70, 30, and 10% HP. Let's go over what to expect in each HP marker. At around 70 and 30% HP marker, the boss is going to do the Calamity 8, 9, and 10 mechanic. During this mechanic, the boss is going to shout 4 times inside his ring. Each shout has the potential to stun you, so if you get stunned, make sure to V immediately. After the boss shouts, multiple flame blades are sent to your location. What you want to do is wait for the shout to finish and dodge or PvE iframe the flame blades. To DPS during this mechanic successfully, start on the outer edge of the boss's golden ring. After dodging the flame blades, head to the center and start DPSing the boss again. DPS in the center till the shout animation completes, then dodge the fire blades again. You want to do this 4 times. First, you start out on the outer edges of the golden ring, and then you go into the center with the boss, then you go out again, then in one last time. Each time remembering to dodge the flame blades. At 30% HP, the boss will proc another mechanic where he will shout and lift his sword above his head. Most of this happens in blue, and you can free DPS until the sword comes down. Again, you can use your frontal guard to DPS through this skill, but make sure you don't try to DPS through the full thing, as your frontal guard gauge will be low and not recovered. Next, we have the 10% HP mechanic. This is exclusive to Calamity 10. This mechanic is a copy and paste of the 70% HP mechanic, where you have to go out first to the outer edges and come in to DPS the boss. However, there's a slight difference here. The major difference is the boss will lift his sword and do 3 different swings. Each swing is going to do damage to 1/3 of the golden ring, as seen in the example above. What you're going to do here is start on the outer edge of the golden ring. Dodge the flame blades after the initial shout, then go to the center part of the golden ring, dodge the flame blades again after the boss's shout. The boss should be raising his sword in order to do the 3 swings. Make sure to PvE iframe 3 times in order to survive. This should conclude everything with the HP markers. Next, we're going to move on to the general stage mechanics. In the general stage mechanics, we're going to go over the fire circles and how to activate them. We're going to go over the boss ring and what not to do with it, HP orbs and where they are, and things to be aware of. The boss has 5 circles that he will activate during the fight. Each of them are activated during the second part of his general attack skills as shown in the example. The fire circles progress through 3 stages, the black stage, into the orange stage, and finally the blue stage. In order to control these fire circles, you want to make sure the boss is doing all his animations on top of the fire circles. Progressing through the orange stage goes into the blue stage, which then explodes and causes the boss to be stunned, as shown in the example. Here's a showcase of what happens when the boss activates the blue flame. When the boss is stunned, you enter a free DPS stage, which was mentioned earlier, and now DPS to your heart's content. Now we're going to talk about the boss's ring. The boss's ring is a golden ring that surrounds the boss at all times, currently outlined in green for you to see. You want to make sure that you stay within the parameters of the circle during the whole boss fight. Each time you step outside the circle, the boss will give you a message prompt. However, you may iframe or PvE iframe outside the circle. Just don't stay there for too long. There are a couple of HP orbs located around the stage. The best one is currently being pointed at on the screen. If you want to make sure you have a good fight with the boss, fight around the biggest HP orb, which is located at the southeastern part of the stage. A couple of things to watch out for. The boss will do a skill where he raises his sword and spins 3 times. Watch out for this skill because it knocks you back and you cannot beat. When it starts, simply iframe. Generally, always beware of the flame circles when they're spawned. The fire circles do damage to you and they take you down. However, beware of when the blue flame explodes because it will one-shot you. Let us revisit the golden ring. The golden ring mechanic will one-shot you only if you are caught 3 separate times outside of the circle, not in PvE iframe or in iframe. This is generally RNG, but there are times when stepping outside the circle once triggers the one-shot mechanic. The one-shot mechanic can be iframed, or you can V through the whole thing. However, you have to be very careful how you do it and kind of get a feel for it. But just don't step out of the circle and you're good. I don't have footage of this, but there's one last thing I would like to kind of explain. If you go too far from the origin point from where the boss spawned, the boss might trigger a mechanic where he jumps, or rather disappears, and reappears at the spawn point where he started. If this happens to you, all you have to do is just make sure you're back in the circle and keep DPS in the boss, or he will start recovering his HP. That should conclude all the crazy little details that we have to go through for the Golden Pig King. Now it's time to go over some standard stuff, skill add-ons. Now for your skill add-ons, you want to mainly focus on self buffs. If you're playing a class that does not have a lot of sustain, make sure to add a lot of heals and damage mitigation to your kit. For your food, elixirs, and other buffs, you want to use Simple Chromium, Harmonies, Church buffs, and Villa buffs, as well as Deep Seas if you're going for damage. This is generally the crystal setup that I use for my runs. I don't know if it's right or wrong, it's just simply what I've gotten accustomed to. Feel free to use it or use one of your own. We have hit the end of all the explanations and the setups. I'd like to give a brief mention to the differences between C8, C9, and C10. In C8 and C9, everything is exactly the same with the exception of the bosses, damage, and HP. However, in C10, there is a change to the boss that is different from C8 and C9. It will become very apparent once you start doing C8, C9, and C10 to any of the boss blitz. The difference is that certain attack indicators are no longer shown in C10 to make it harder. I don't have any good point of references at the moment, however, if you want to know the differences between the attacks that have indications or not, simply do C8 and C10 and you will grasp the differences pretty quickly. We're finally at the end of the tutorial stage. So now I'm going to take you through how a general boss fight is going to go. Golden Pig King is going to start by swinging forward in a golden aura attack. You can generally forward guard this attack, but make sure to not soak too much damage and follow everything we have discussed in this video. If you need any reminders, simply go back and scrub through. I will put timers down below so you can go to whichever point of the video that concerns you the most. With that being said, if you're going to practice and learn how to do C10, make sure to never give up and simply just keep going until you beat it. The more you do it, the more you will get accustomed to the animation, the easier it is to going to beat it. So with this, I leave you to a Golden Pig King run. And then go from there. Yeah. Oh. I forgot what skill you're supposed to use. I should go look at what his super armor skill looks like. Oh god. Oh god. I hate that spin attack. You kind of never see it coming. You do a little bit, but it always happens so fast, unlike his other skills. Oh. Are you kidding me? This is bull, bro. And I'm right in front of him. It's crazy. I want them to change it so that skill works towards like Shift C affects Shift C's animation. But yeah, we're done. That's good. It's pretty straightforward. Only problem I had was being terrible at it. I should probably do it again so I'm faster, but meh.